Okay.
Hey everyone, so today I have my friend Alpha again, and today we're gonna be doing an object oriented programming coding interview. So we're gonna try to focus on object oriented principles, and yeah, this is gonna be less algorithmic heavy, but more focused on OOP essentially. So let's get into this.
All right.
So what we're gonna be designing, and this doesn't need to actually push notifications, but we want to
Uh-huh.
design a system to model notifications that can be sent to users. So we want to first support three notifications: emails, SMS, and push notifications. And
hmm
yeah, we should just have some of the following requirements.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking um we can do one of two things, I guess. We can make we should definitely make like a base notification class or interface or something to have all the like things we want there. So it looks like all of these have like a, let's see, recipient, common properties, system specific properties. Okay, so we have
Let's say for
email.
now that the common thing is just a recipient. That's a common one,
Okay.
and then the like emails have email body, text have SMS message, and push notifications have like a title and a body. So those are what difference in are different in between those types. But we'll just have a comment
Okay.
of like recipient and maybe a date sent or something.
Okay, sure. And then yeah, so we can make like a class for that, just like a abstract class for like the common notification or base notification or something, and then it can have the recipient. We can also make a, so I guess what type of things are we supporting? So we're supporting like send notification essentially, right? Like when we make this class, we fill in all these things, and then like the only function we're supporting is like send notification or something like that.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Um, yeah. So what we can do is we can have like an abstract class. I don't know if you can you make. I know you can like in the React thing. Can you make different files in here? I don't
It's
know if you
just
can.
we can't just do it all in one class or all in just right here.
Yeah, I don't know how it works in one. We'll try it. Yeah. So I think we can. We can. Yeah, we
Let's
kind of.
just do like class up here.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we need. Yeah, so I think we need like an abstract class or something, because we're essentially not going to make this. I don't know if it lets you make it in here. And the abstract class, what it does is it's kind of like an interface. We're not going to like ever instantiate it, but it's going to have all the base things that we're going to have everywhere else. And then we can make all these other ones that extend this thing. And so the abstract class, yeah, I guess we can call this like base notification. Can have some fields. And so let's see. So we want a recipient, right? So I guess we'll just maybe we'll just have like a name or something, or like or whatever. We'll just have recipient. It'll just be a string or something. Recipient. Um. Okay. And then we need we need a constructor, I guess. So it also has. It looks like it also has this date sent, right? I guess I'll do the date sent later. I'll just do recipient for now. So we need a constructor that will take this, like you can call this base notification. So we can just say like public is notification. Yeah. Pretty rusted Java, so let's see how it goes. So we're just gonna take our recipient here, provide it, and then we'll just say the recipient is that other one. All right. I think that should work. And then we also are going to make another class called like send notification. So what do we need to send a notification? I guess. Um, I guess we don't need to really provide anything, right? Like we're going to have all these things already in the notifications, and the send notification will just like do nothing, and it will like return a string or something, or we'll just like return some format string of like some message. Does that work?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Yeah, so the send notification. So in every single one of these like things, we're gonna have fields for the things we need. And so this send notification is not going to take in anything, and it will just return like a format string of like sending email to whatever person at some date or something to simulate a sending notification.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we can just say like, and I think here we can do an abstract as well, because
Well, what does
basically
the
like
abstract? Oh, go ahead.
yeah. So abstract is like we're not going to implement it now, but we're going to use it in other classes because like all of the send like the send things are going to be different in every class that's going to like use this base notification. So this base notification doesn't really have an implementation of like what it means to send a notification. We're just going to create it's like an interface, you know, just like take in nothing, return a string, and then we'll implement the actual like implementation in the functions that are or in the classes that are going to use it. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the same as an interface.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can say like send notification, and then this can return like a string, and it will take in nothing. And I think this is the format. Yeah. Okay. And here we're never going to change the recipient, so we can do this too. Okay. Um, yeah. So now we're going to make the classes that will like inherit this one. So we can copy there. So let's start with like let's see, email. I guess what are we supporting? Email, SMS, push. Okay. So now we're going to have another one that's going to be like email notification. And it extends
Like,
the
what happens if we take a class and we don't extend or we don't implement that send notification?
if we take a class and we don't implement this.
If we, yeah, if a child class doesn't implement that, what would happen?
Um, so I know for like an interface, it would throw an error. For an abstract class, I'm not sure. I think it would also throw an error. We can try it.
Okay, I'm just asking if you know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. The reason I went with like an abstract class instead of an interface is because we have some fields and we have like a constructor interface. Usually you just like don't have anything. So yeah, so we don't need this recipient because we already have that. So we're gonna make this email notification. Yeah. Okay, so we need a recipient. So what other stuff do we need? Let's see. A date. Or I guess the date can just be like now. Yeah, I guess the date we don't really need because we'll just like send like when we hit send, we'll just get the date dot now or whatever it is. And then we want like an email body. Yeah, maybe we'll just keep it as simple as like string like email body or something. Or yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'm still not super sure how this is going to work, but essentially we can do something like this. And then, yeah, and then basically we'll have this dot, whatever this thing is, email body. Okay. So we need to add it here. I don't know, okay. Implicit. Oh yeah, so we need to also call the super constructor with the recipient and get rid of this. I think that's the right format. Let's see. Implicit superconstructor base notifications undefined. Invoke another constructor. Let's see. Did I misspell it or something? I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not super sure of the
What's
syntax.
happening here? It's your C. Your
Oh
C
yeah,
right here.
this is wrong. Yeah, this is wrong. Okay, now I think it's good. Cannot reference a field before it's defined. Is it fixed now? All right, I can get rid of this too.
We're. I
Let's
think
see if
that's
it got it.
fine.
Okay, it looks good. So yeah, so it is complaining like you said. So because we never implemented the send notification, it's giving us an error. So once we implement it, then we will it'll be fine. So we can just say like string send notification, and then so now we can do this thing. And then yeah, so we're just gonna send the notification. They're just gonna return some string of like sending email to whatever.
Someone in the chat is asking quick. Um, what happens if there's no constructor given in the abstract class?
If there's no constructor given. Yeah, so if there's no constructor given in the abstract class, you don't need to make one in here. Uh, and then I mean that's just basically like if there's no constructor anywhere, then yeah, you don't need to make it. So then yeah, you basically you don't need to call this like super thing at all. You can just define a constructor in here. I feel like that would work.
Okay.
It'll give default constructor. Yeah. I guess there's like a default constructor if you don't provide anything. So if this didn't have the other one, yeah, that would make sense. So basically, it's like if there is one, then you have to provide it. If there isn't one, then you don't have to. Then you don't have to like. I wouldn't like if I didn't have this other one, it would be fine, and then I wouldn't have to call this super thing. Okay, so we're gonna send the email to the recipient, and then we can just say like with body, and then we'll do the whatever email body or something. Something like that. Recipient. You can do like a format string as well, but yeah.
Sure.
Let's see. Recipient. Did I misspell it? Oh yeah. So there is no recipient in here, so I think you have to do this. Is that correct? Oh, okay. I get it. Okay. So basically, like so we declared this field private. So we don't have access to it in this email, so we need to actually make a getter as well. So we can just do that. So we can just say like public string get recipient, and then we can just return the recipient. And then we can call that. Okay, I'm still not like 100% sure like what's the best format for everything, but this seems pretty reasonable. Okay, so essentially we're going to send a notification with this stuff, and then we can kind of do the same thing for the other ones. So we have two more. So we have like an SMS.
I mean, let's run it on the email one quick and just see how it works.
Okay, yeah, cool.
See, let's just comment that out for a sec.
Okay, yeah. So to run it on the email, let me actually just put this up here so we can see it all. Okay, so let's get rid of all of this. So we're gonna make an email notification. So we're gonna say like email notification equals new email notification. So we need to provide a recipient. So we can like say James and like thanks for the coding interview or something. And then we can just print it. Let's see. So email notification, or I guess this would be. Let's do this. Email. So we're gonna do email send notification.
In type right here.
Oh yeah. So the way it works in Java is you can do var. Var is kind of like the, like the TypeScript where you don't give a type. It'll just like determine it from this. Oh, and because we're making an email notification, it's really clear like what type we want. If we had some other thing, then we wouldn't want to use var. But yeah, it's essentially the same as a like email notification email. If you like hover over it, it'll say email notification.
I see. Okay.
Okay, and then yeah, we just run it.
There's like some new syntax, new Java.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to learn like there's a bunch of stuff, so I was trying to learn stuff to make it not so verbose. There's definitely a lot you can use. Also with like IntelliJ and stuff, there's so much autocomplete and like fill-ins and stuff. Even though it's a lot of code, you can just like fill it in for you, so it's pretty convenient.
Okay. What happens if someone passes in null for the recipient or email body params?
So that's gonna be so let's think about it, I guess. So someone passes null for the recipient. So strings are objects in Java, so you can pass null, and it won't like give you a type error. So like if I do this, like it's not going to give you a type error here, but I think we might have like a runtime error. So if we do super recipient, then it'll be null. Um, I don't know if you do plus null. I guess we can try it. Yeah, I feel like it'll just be a runtime error. Like I don't know if you can add null to a string, but we can try it and see what happens. Can't be resolved to a variable. Yeah, I think this should be
It
fine.
ran.
It did. Oh, it just said null or something.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I guess because we just all we did was string concatenation, null was fine. But typically you want to like look out for these things because let's say I wanted to actually do something with the recipient or the email. I want to get like a length or whatever, then you would in your constructors, you would just check for those things. You'd make sure like if it's null, you just throw an error saying like name can't be null or whatever. Things like that.
Is there a way to even catch that during the type checker? That it has
No,
to.
because string is an object, so it's kind of like in JavaScript. You can make if something equals an object. Well, I guess in JavaScript, null is like its own type, but in other languages, like null is like a valid object, basically. So you can't. So you would have to. I think you would have to explicitly check for that. I mean, there might
Like,
be some other stuff, but I'm
because in
not aware.
JavaScript or TypeScript, you could say that it's required. So if you pass none there, it'll complain.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. I
I
think
don't know
I
too
feel
well.
like you have to manually do it. I don't know. I don't think you can because like null is essentially anything. So anytime you make an object, you can make it null. Like you can make like a list that's null. You can make whatever that's null, and I think it doesn't get caught.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Um, yeah, go ahead and implement the other type of notification.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, so this will be like SMS body now, and SMS notification. SMS body, same thing. So we can call like this, I guess. That, and then this is SMS body, and then the last one was push. So this is push. Whoops, push notification. And then yeah, sending push notification. It's being SMS. Okay, yeah. There might be a way to get it more. Yeah, like I think we can actually because all of these are the same, like we just have to give it a few parameters. I think we can actually define this in the main class and we can give it a notification type and then we can give it the body and then everything else looks the same, right? It's just sending notification type notifications to recipient. So yeah, so I think we can do that. So we can actually move this over here. So we can say like notification type, and then we can just say string body here, and then we can just basically use that instead. So, um, and we can give it. Let's see. Wait, did I do that in the right place? Wrong place. Oh yeah, I did do that in the wrong place. Okay, so we can do that here. We don't have to make it abstract anymore. And then we can just say like this whole thing. So we can say sending email to get recipient, and then with body, body, and then this wouldn't be email. This would be like this, I guess. So this would be the notification type. Okay. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I
like
think it's better using a format string or go
pretend
ahead.
we're instead of actually sending a email here, or
Uh
just
huh.
returning a string. We're actually like calling an API and it's going to change depending on the notification type. So like how would that affect your design here?
Yeah. So then we would pass the API as like if we have a function that we need to call, we can pass that here. So I think you can just do like function or something, and then you would give it like function ABC. I forgot the format exactly, but you can just pass down the function, and then you can just call the function in here. So that way you don't have to know like what function it is. You can just call it anyway. Yeah, I forgot the exact name here. I think I'd have to look that up. But it's kind of like in JavaScript, you give it a callback and you just say like, okay, take this callback and call it with these fields, and then the callback's gonna be different depending on like what thing I'm in. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we're going to pass in a function and then
Uh
it's
huh.
going to, so we're just going to pass a function into this send notification.
Yeah, and then we can just call the function. So we can just call like ABC on whatever the fields we need to call it on, like notification type and body or something. I'm not sure of the exact format, but it would be something like that where we give a callback, we give the fields we need to call it with, and then we just call it.
So then just
And
I'm
then
just
we can
wondering
pass different ones in to different with
what's
different notification types.
what would be the gain there if, instead of just writing it inside the send notification? Like why create a
Uh
function and then pass it in there for it to call the function instead of just writing that logic in the one above it?
so
Like in the
in which one,
subclass?
sorry? Like you mean
Like
in the
yeah,
subclass?
why do we need to create that function and pass it down? Like
Well,
what?
the reason I pass it down was because if in every single one of these we're doing the exact same thing, like I noticed here, it's all the same. The only thing that's changing is like the type and then the body. It's better to define it all in the like base class if you know every single notification is going to do this. And then it makes sure your notification does it, and also it's just getting rid of like duplicate code, right? Like if I have like the same exact block here and here and here, like in all of them, I can just put in the base one. The downside is if I do put it in this like base one, then every single notification has to do it. So then they're kind of like less flexible later on. So I guess those are like the trade-offs you would have. Like, do I want all of my notifications to do this exact thing? But if I do, then I would just put all the shared stuff in this base one because it's all shared. So what's the point of putting the same thing in all of them?
I mean, like just I would say just let's make it so that it's as easy as possible to add notification types in the future. Like if things need to change, we don't want to do a big refactor. Pretend the way we're
Right. So
sending
that
emails
yeah.
really needs to change. Um, Maybe, but it's 5 years down the line. Like we want it to be extendable without having to significantly modify existing
Yeah.
code.
So if we think our like send notification is going to be like reasonably different and change in all these sub ones, then we would go back and have the original implementation of just having this like this thing, right? Where you can just go
Mm.
back to having this.
Yeah. I'll just say that it might. We'll just make the assumption that it's gonna be different. Like we're gonna be different using different providers for emails versus SMS, and
Hmm.
we'll just say that it's gonna be different, and we're gonna maybe track different things, and we also might we might add different parameters to the push notifications with emails and SMS. Like it might not just be just SMS body. We might
Yeah,
add
yeah,
more
that makes
properties
sense.
there. Like it might those different base classes might grow in the future, so we need to be future proof.
Yeah, and there's kind of like downsides and upsides, right? Yeah, if you put too much in the base class, then it's going to be very hard to make the other ones different. And then if there's too many like dependencies and like extending and whatever, then it's going to be kind of annoying to modify things. So yeah, it makes sense. Okay. Let's see. Why is this complaining now? Want send notification. Didn't I do that?
So someone in the chat just quickly asking, what's the benefit of using an abstract class here instead of an interface?
Yeah. So I think you can actually have fields in it, what's it called? You can have like properties in an interface. I don't remember for sure like if you can have like this kind of stuff. Also, so the abstract class lets you kind of do both. It lets you have functions that have a defined body, and then some that are like don't have anything. interfaces generally, when you don't really want to define anything, you just say like these are the things you need, and then the implementation details are like down the road. So yeah, kind of like in TypeScript, where you write like, when you make an interface and it's just say this is like a void function that returns whatever. You don't really ever define it in the interface. You just give like the like what it takes and what it returns. So that's kind of like the difference is, yeah, abstract has a little bit more implementation details generally.
I see.
Um,
Makes sense.
yeah. Also, a class can extend or implement multiple interfaces, but it can only extend one like abstract class or whatever.
And they're asking a follow up. Don't you think the abstract class couples the inherited class? This is a chat question. Chat.
Yeah. I mean, it depends how much implementation detail you put in the abstract class. So sort of. I mean, it's kind of similar. Like, yeah, it's kind of similar. So I don't know what's used more. I mean, actually, sorry. I think interfaces are definitely used more. So I could have rewritten this with an interface where I just make a constructor that doesn't have anything. I think also now interfaces kind of you can add stuff to interfaces. So I think with like the new Java versions, like interfaces and abstract classes are even more similar, where you can literally do all of this in an interface. I'm pretty sure, so it doesn't make much of a difference.
I see.
Um, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and continue on with your implementation. So, okay,
Okay.
you made the thing back into abstract. Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know why it's saying like if I run it, does it run or does it give me an error? I don't know if this thing is just like old. Push notification is not. Okay, so it is complaining. Did I misspell? Oh, it's because this takes nothing. And then generally, I think the way you do it is you want to like say that you overrid it, so you would just put like an override here. Is so then you say like this other thing had something, and I just overrid it. Okay, and then as far as yes, I think these all work now. And then yeah, so I can make all of these, and I can send a notification and whatever. So yeah, is there like any other stuff I need to do?
I mean, let's test it out. Send out
Okay,
a bunch of different ones.
sure. So we can try a SMS. Well, this is an SMS, and then we can do SMS, and then we can try the push as well. Uh, and then yeah, I guess that's the other thing someone posted in the chat. So generally, an interface, everything is like public. In abstract classes, you can have private stuff. So yeah, you do have more control over what's it called scope, because the interface is usually like nothing's defined, then it's all public, and then you can make it. Yeah. Did that work? Or are there some errors?
This is SMS. This is a push. It's looking good to me.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay. Let's look over your code. So let me just get through some basic trivia. So what
Uh-huh.
is encapsulation in object-oriented programming?
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know like what the word. God, what do the words mean? I feel like that's the one I know the least.
Okay, let's just go or let's warm you up.
Uh
What
huh.
is the difference between what's a object and what's a class, and what are the difference between them in terms of object-oriented programming?
Yeah, so a class is typically like it defines fields and methods for an object. So in a class, you would say like this is what my object should have, and this is what my object can do. And then an object is typically an instance of a class, so you can like create one. Yeah. So essentially, a class is like a schema, and then the object is like the instance. Like you just made something with that schema.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, could you just define Or tell me the difference between method overloading and method overriding.
Okay. So method overriding is like if I have, for example, this, if I have like a base class with some method like get name or something, overriding is if I make a class that extends that base class and then I am changing the implementation of that method. I think they both have to have the same exact arguments to override.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so you're basically just saying, like, I know this one had this thing, but I want to make it something else. Overloading is you can make multiple methods with the same name, but it'll take like different arguments. So one can take like nothing, one can take like one variable, two variables, and so on.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I know the concepts, I just don't know what word is what. I feel
Okay.
like
Well,
for
what's
the
inheritance?
yeah. So inheritance is kind of this thing where I have here where you make some base class or interface or something, and then you make other classes that extend those essentially. So they have the same properties as the base class. So like I can make like a car or something, and it'll have the fields of a car, and then I can make a truck. So essentially, it'll have the same fields as a car, but it might have like its own stuff or something's changed. So that's like when you use like extending classes or implementing interfaces. That's like inheritance.
Okay. And like, what is the reason for doing using inheritance?
Yeah, so typically it's because, if I have the truck that extends a car, like truck's gonna have a lot of the similar stuff to a car. So I don't want to like write it over and over. So I can just say like I'm just gonna define a car. The truck is basically a car with a few tweaks. So I'm just gonna say take everything from a car and add those tweaks, and then I don't have to like write the same thing over and over. Kind of like here, the all these notifications are similar to this base notification. So I don't want to have to like write a bunch of these things over and over. Yeah. And also it lets you define things that you want all of your things to share. So like in this base notification, I know like I need to be able to send it, so I can define it, and then everything that extends off of this, I know like it has to have it, or it's not a correct notification. So that's another benefit, I guess.
Okay. Is it so? What if we have? Are we able to do like multiple inheritance
So
in
I
Java?
think, as far as I know anyway, I don't think you can extend multiple classes, but you can implement multiple interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think you can only extend one because with extending, there's a lot of like weird spots you can get into. Like let's say I am a truck and I extend two cars and both cars have a field. Like what field is my truck field? Like I don't, there's a lot of like obscurity. So it's cleaner to just extend only one thing.
What is a static function?
Yeah, so a static function belongs to the class, not to like an instance of the class. So it's good for like if you have like util functions. So maybe like in my email notification, I might want to get like the current time or something. That doesn't really have to do with any email in particular. It more just corresponds to the email service. So static functions can be called without making like an instance of the variable. You would just say like email notification dot whatever that static thing is. You can call it. So it's basically shared. It belongs to the class, not to like any instance of it.
So you can call it without actually instantiating an object.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the limitations in a static function? Pretend I create a static. If this was static,
Uh huh.
it's like would that cause any issues?
Yeah. So it wouldn't like you don't really want to have static functions that use like fields in the class. So because like this email body and like the recipient is specific to an email, it shouldn't be shared through all emails. So you don't really want to call a static function. I don't even know if you can call a static function with these fields. They'll probably just be like null. So you generally want to call static functions with things that don't have to do with like an instance of the class. So that's kind of the limitation. Also, they share like if you have some variable, that variable is shared through all of the instances of the or through all calls of that function. Like you can't have one specific one per instance.
So will this actually error
Let's see.
like line 49?
Well, I mean, it's red, so I
Yeah.
guess it's like static method cannot hide the instance from base.
I mean, yeah, yeah. You answered. It's like
Yeah.
if I have a static method, I can only access static attributes or static properties on my
Yeah,
class.
yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, you can only static access static because those fields have to be shared through like all instances of the class. Like, it wouldn't really make sense to call like an email body in a static method because an email body belongs to one email notification.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're gonna extend this a little bit. Pretend for emails we use. Pretend we have API call to
Uh
send
huh.
grid here. Send grid. This is another one. Um,
Okay.
and then here we have an API call to Twilio. And then here we just use like API call to like Firebase or Apple notifications. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So we all these are doing very different things.
Uh huh.
How could you write some unit tests or some tests? How would we test this service to make sure that it's working correctly? This
How do we
email,
test the
yeah,
service?
like how would we? You wrote this code. We want
Uh
to
huh.
make sure it's future proof from other engineers to that might like add to it or change to it. So I
Uh huh.
want you to add some test cases. I want 100% test coverage on this. Maybe not
Yeah. So to
100%,
tell you
but
the truth, I haven't gone into Java testing yet, so I don't know like the syntax for most of it.
I mean we
So
could just
maybe,
talk about it.
but I can talk about it like
Yeah,
how I would do it in another language. Yeah,
yeah, in
sure.
another language or whatever. It's pretty
Yeah, yeah.
similar.
So so one question I have for you is, do we actually want to make sure that like in our test, do we actually want to test calling those external APIs?
I mean, what would that be like? Or I mean, that's the question for you, right? Like, is that a good
Right.
practice?
So it kind of depends on the API. Like I feel like probably not. I feel like I would rather mock the API call. So what I would do is I would say, like, let's say this API call takes some variables. I would mock that API call. So you can just say like, okay, I'm going to make a mock call. And I can, or I'm going to make a mock function, kind of like in, yeah, like in JavaScript, you would make a mock function. And what it allows you to do is it'll just say like, when you tested, and like let's say in this, I'll just write it in like comments. I can just make some mock function here that will take the same input arguments, and I can run my test, and I can verify that the mock function was called with the right arguments. And then from there, like I don't think we really need to test like, did the Apple notification get sent? That's more on like the Apple end. We could have like separate tests for those. Like, is this service working? We could have a separate test for like those things, like just test Apple notifications or Firebase or whatever it is. But in our usually with like unit tests and things like this, yeah, I would just basically mock the API call, and all I would verify is, did it get called with the right arguments, and did it get called at all? And then if that's the case, then I would just assume like that the Apple or whatever I'm calling, as long as I'm calling with the right arguments, like that's more of like their problem, not mine, type of thing. Is what I would go with. If that
Okay,
makes sense.
wait. Let me think about this for a second.
Uh-huh.
Mock the function, run my test to verify. Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah,
what would be an issue if we just let it make the API call?
yeah. So I mean, first of all, money, right? Like if these calls cost something, we're every time we run our tests, we're essentially just like spending money for no reason. Um, I mean, that's the main one. Secondly, let's see. Secondly, I guess to call these things, a lot of times we have to set up some other stuff. Like we have to set up like more dependencies and things, and those dependencies aren't like part of our function that we're testing. Like in here, we just really want to test our function. Like, is it all of this working? Is our call correct? We don't really want to test other dependencies. So we want to kind of try to isolate, like, did the work we make here work? And if something is breaking, then we want to make sure that the thing that's breaking has to do with our stuff, not some external dependency or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I think For what I would say is like the main issue if we actually made the API call was that it might cause flaky tests. So now our tests are sort of dependent on some third party.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah. That's the other
that
thing.
would
Like
be issues.
our call might fail. Like they might return a failure, but our call was correct. It's just their problem. So
Exactly.
yeah. So then when we run like CI/CD pipelines on these things, if imagine if we have like a billion or whatever, a ton of mock calls, those are going to be like very inconsistent. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like if we didn't mock, it
Or if
won't
we did a
be.
mock, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
it'd
yeah,
be.
they'd be very inconsistent. So, and you might think you actually have a test problem, but it's just like their service is down or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then like our CI/CD pipeline is dependent on like some third party company that
right.
might not work right. Yeah, it makes sense. So we'll run it, we'll mock it, we'll view that it was called with the right args.
Uh huh.
Um, yeah, I think overall that made sense. So yeah, I think overall pretty good. Let's see if I have any more questions.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to brush up on the like exact names of like encapsulation, all that stuff. Like, I know what it means. I just don't know, like I don't know how to define it. Like when someone said it's like private, public, static, or whatever. Like I know what all that stuff means, but I didn't know that was like encapsulation and so on.
Yeah, encapsulation is pretty much like hiding implementation details, like encapsulating
Right.
data within your classes. So in your email, you're you're encapsulating the details of what a notification has, like this recipients, and you're providing functions to access those. Like you're hiding information, and then you're using public class or public methods, or getters and setters,
Yeah.
to only give access to very specific things.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's kind of like I think the main thing I've heard of that is like the remote control thing. Like if I click, a button on my remote control, I don't really care what happens in like the circuits in it or something or how it goes to whatever I want. I just need it to happen. So yeah, you're just basically giving the user like the minimal stuff they need to get your stuff working, and they don't need, and B they shouldn't have the implementation details of like how it
I,
happens
I
or
think that that's just abstraction though, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
That's true too.
but like for Python, Python doesn't really have encapsulation in the same way. As in, you can't control what fields on the class can get updated. And that leads to weird issues where someone just takes your class and then just changes a property. Like it
You can, but there's like workarounds. You can do
yeah,
like the double underscore thing,
I
right? But
see.
there's
Yeah.
like ways to get around that. So I feel like most of the Python stuff is like, here's how you should use it, but then if you don't want to, there's like ways you could break it. So yeah,
Yeah. I feel like
that's
Python
also why I wanted to learn Java because there's a lot of like enforced stuff where Python it's kind of like suggested, you
yeah,
know?
Python is like way less encapsulation out the box. You just define properties and they're all just public and you can just access them and just
Right.
it could just be weird. But yeah, how do you think you did?
I mean, so I haven't been studying Java that long, so I'm definitely a lot pretty rusty with stuff, but yeah, I was able to make stuff and it worked, I guess. Yeah, I think the main thing I need to work on is like, should I make an abstract class? Should I make an interface? Like I wasn't super sure there. So I think as I do more stuff and do more practice with this, like I'll be able to 100% know like this thing that I went with is like better and I'm super confident. But I think I did all right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, for the
Honestly,
amount of time I spent doing this.
yeah, honestly, like I did this in Python, and you have pretty much the exact same implementation as I did in Python. So,
Hmm.
it's gonna be little different because it's Java. But yeah, I think overall you did a good job. No, like you answered all the questions really well. Like I don't know,
Hmm.
you knew. I tried to dig into certain things, and you were able to answer it. I think overall, definitely you know what you're doing, and that definitely be a pass. Like even between like abstract classes and interfaces, multiple inheritance, how the static functions work,
Hmm.
um, overriding, overloading. I don't know. Like
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the Python stuff is kind of similar to Java, just like I guess less strict. Like there's still like static calls. I guess in Python there isn't overloading because you can just give like optional args and stuff, so it's a lot simpler. But
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, there's no overloading, but then it leads to one big like you pretty much have to override the class and just define a ton of parameters,
yeah, yeah. I
right?
mean,
So it
there's
makes
definitely
it
pros and cons. Yeah.
yeah,
So.
cool. All right. That's pretty much it. Thanks for taking the time to interview. Like that's definitely like a moving on
Yeah,
to
no
the next
problem. Maybe we
stage.
can do some harder stuff once I get a little bit more familiar, or do some
Like
leak codes in Java. Quite verbose, so I'm trying to get used to.
yeah, what do you think would be harder than this? I think this is like a this one is good enough to test all the knowledge of a person. Could make it
Yeah,
slightly harder, but
yeah. I think honestly, like the interview difficulty doesn't have to be that hard, and you can just probe a lot of stuff. Like why did you pick this? Why did you pick that? Like if you have to do, yeah, I feel like those interview formats are kind of the best. Like you don't have to make it very hard, but you can just probe and then ask for like why did they pick things, and if they know it very well, then you can get a lot of like knowledge there. So yeah, it makes sense.
yeah, like we even got into the testing and stuff. So I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't got into actual like Java unit tests and all that. I'll get
Yeah.
into that eventually. So
Cool. All right, Alpha. Thanks for coming out. Catch you
all right,
again on the
cool.
next one.
See ya.
Peace.